Hey, greetings YouTube, Performance Reviews, where I give you the review from the technician's point of view. And today we are doing a long-awaited video, which is the Kenmore 600 series canister vacuum. Now the Kenmore 600 is kind of in the middle of Kenmore's canister lineup, and it's probably one of the more recommended ones you see when somebody is on a budget and they want a canister vacuum. Who made this? What is this? This is not the Kenmore associated with Sears. This is not made by Panasonic or Cibo, as Kenmores of the past were. This is actually made by Cleva, and Cleva makes VacMaster and some Shark products. Now, that being said, they licensed, or it expired, the Panasonic design, which means this has some parts commonality, a lot of the faults from the Kenmore design dating back to the 80s. So we're going to discuss that in this video. And if you are looking for validation because you just bought one of these, that's not what we do here. We do honest reviews, and I'm going to give you my honest feedback on this machine. So first up, this is a Power Team canister, which means it is a two-motor system. You have a motor for the suction and a motor for the brush bar. And the brush bar is for doing carpet and area rugs. Of course, you turn that off when you do hard floor. It does come with a separate hard floor brush. We'll talk about that a little bit later. What is nice is you can park the power nozzle right here if you did need to carry everything. It's pretty hefty and big compared to a lot of other canisters on the market. And for size comparison, I have a Miele C3. Again, a significantly smaller machine when you look at it in comparison. Another comparison I want to point out when we're talking about the hose is this is at an angle, much more natural angle. This is straight up, almost 90 degrees. This relieves stress on the hose. And of course, this is crush-proof modern hose, where this is old wire reinforced hose. I also want to show it next to a Cibo D4, which is one of my recommended machines. But you can see that this machine is kind of bigger and bulkier than even the D4, which is considered one of the largest canister vacuums on the market. The handle, it's a little on the small side. You have a carpet and hard floor switch, clearly marked, which I really like. And then you can variable speed the motor electronically right here, and then the wand and everything will lock in place. If this is your first canister, you might not like canister vacuums after owning one of these. This has a very stiff, what we call wire reinforced hose. Again, this is one of the leftovers from the 80s design. This is not something that's used pretty much on any other vacuum. So keep in mind this hose is stiff and bulky compared to a lot of other options. I'll try to link it below, but I do have a video where I talk about maneuverability in vacuums. This has a much older, long wheelbase, three-wheeled system. This has a modern caster system. This has kind of been the standard for the past 20 years. This really has maneuverability that's a holdover to the 1980s. Now, if we get to the underside, the wheels have a very thin layer of rubber on them, and then they're hard plastic, and then these front ones are hard plastic. So if you have really delicate floors, you probably don't want to use this on that. The brush roller is easily replaced. We'll talk about that more in the shop. Something I want to note about this brush roller is it does tend to tangle a lot of hair, and I suspect that's from kind of the archaic design of this nozzle on that. So that's just something to be aware, is you'll have to clean hair off this quite often. The original design had a 90-degree where the hose would come out. This one swivels like this, and that does make the hose kind of in a weird spot from the original design. On the left, we have a red Kenmore that was actually made by Panasonic. And you can see that the hose swivels at a more pleasant angle, and this relieves stress on the hose as well. It also costs a little bit more money to make, so I suspect that was one of the changes they made. Also, going on the changes, the new hose has a different fitting, and it's a lot more bulky than the older hose that I have here. Now, other features on the canister vacuum, you do have a cord rewind, which you have to sit and actually hold the button. The cord is surprisingly short on this machine. It's about 25 feet, maybe max. It feels a little shorter. It is nice that this has a cord rewind. However, it is a very sad cord rewind. Yeah, that is a little slow. So keep that in mind. If you do get one of these, that cord has to be all the way out for it to actually go in all the way. There is a suction indicator here. Let's see if that works at my altitude. Nope. So suction indicator does not work at high altitude. Something that I do like on board here is they give you this tool right here, and a motorized stair tool at this price point is really cool. So yeah, even though it's kind of small, I do like that. They don't give you a straight up regular upholstery tool, so just be mindful of that. And they do give you kind of a nice big natural style hair dusting brush, and you do get your average crevice tool on board. So that is nice. And then I think the kind of the party trick and the reason for the name is they call this a pop and go, which means you're supposed to hit this with your foot, and then this should pop up, and there we go. That's what it's supposed to do. It doesn't do it every time. And the idea is that when you get to hard floor, that you're going to just insert the wand, pick it up, and go. And again, it's a little awkward with this piece here, but it's a cool idea. Floor tool is nothing to write home about. I want to mention the size of this hard floor tool. And if this was your only hard floor tool, you probably wouldn't notice it. But you notice it's 2/3 the size of a normal 300 millimeter floor tool. That's 12 inches for you Americans. So yeah, that's a little on the short side. So if you're doing a lot of hard floor, you're probably not going to like this tool. And it uses a proprietary fitting, so you're kind of stuck with that. Moving to the power brush, we have your release right there. And then we have a height adjustment. And the height adjustment is always in the same order. It's a complete circle. So you have high, extra low, low, medium, high, and then drops all the way down on there. And there's a little window there. We'll see if we can get that in focus where you can see what the setting is. You have a reset if something gets stuck in there. And then you have a wand release right here. Again, meant for foot control. So all that is pretty standard. Now, let's see how much working vacuum this Kenmore has. We'll make sure the suction control is up all the way. 40 inches of working vacuum is pretty darn powerful, and we're getting about 70, 72 inches sealed. Again, good numbers from this machine. Welcome to the In the Shop section of the review. And here I have the Kenmore open. Now we have a couple chronic problems with this machine. Luckily the cord rewinds are pretty reliable on this, but the biggest problem with this machine is it's not actually a sealed system, which means there's no actual gasket or fitting that's tight enough, which means this will fill with dust, and I'll roll in some footage of me taking this apart the first time. The other of which is there are shortcuts like it's taped together, and there's no plug-and-play wire harness, so anytime you have to do service, you have to cut these off and shorten these wires, which means it's got 1 or 2 services at most in it. The other problem with this machine is chronically this gasket. We're going to talk about the problem with Kenmores and their filtration. The biggest problem with this design is it goes back to the 80s, before we really knew what we were doing, and there's a gasket right here, but there's no gasket on the bag. Sorry folks, I lost a little footage here, but basically with Kenmore that never makes a complete seal, and there are other vacuums out there that do make a complete seal. So if they had added a gasket and they changed this red piece out, they could actually fix this, but they have chosen not to. So this is the same filtration technology we've seen for the past 35 years or so, and they do produce a lot of dust out the backside for a bagged vacuum. All right, we're gonna do a standard pickup test of cereal, fine sand, cat litter, and fresh pet hair. And just so you know, we've switched to the studio microphone, so you're gonna hear the real sound of this thing running. And this is gonna be a 2-part test on the hard floor. We're actually gonna do the power head, and then I'm gonna switch to the hard floor tool, just to give you an idea how both do. All right, so let's talk about the hard floor. You can see where it just left a path in the middle, and that is due to right where the belt is right here. And oh, wow, I wasn't expecting that. A lot of this stuff just fell out of the nozzle. And again, this has to do with this nozzle not being very aerodynamic inside and, you know, left over from the 80s. So it will pick up, but you're probably gonna want to turn that brush on or make sure you clear all the stuff. Now, the hard floor tool did excellent, except for there's some cat litter that got scattered right here. But overall, it did okay. It did get a little hair on it. Of course, you'd vacuum that off after you're using it. So overall, not the worst hard floor pickup, but certainly far from most canister vacuums. Okay, we have our standard pickup test of breakfast cereal, fine sand, cat litter, and fresh pet hair. Let's see how the Kenmore does in carpet cleaning. Alright, that looks pretty good. Let's see if we have any pet hair. But we do have a bit of pet hair and a piece of cat litter. Yeah, there's a little bit more cat litter here. We saw it snowplowed some breakfast cereal. Did alright on the fine sand, and you got most of breakfast cereal. And again, just like the other review, yeah. So there seems to be an issue, just like a Kirby, where the head is not aerodynamic and stuff is just kind of bouncing around in there after it's been picked up. And you do see the ingest bars leave a noticeable mark on the carpet, and I did adjust it properly for this carpet. So it's just kind of a note. If you really like carpet lines, this is going to leave a whole lot of carpet lines, but they're not pretty carpet lines. Stair cleaning with the Kenmore is pretty interesting. How it balances on stairs is a little strange, but it kind of makes sense that in case you're a dum-dum and you lay it down at a 45-degree angle, it at least has that stair grip to keep it from falling down. I don't think that's the worst thing in the world, but it does seem kind of like a gimmick. As far as the power tool goes, let's give that a try. Well, that certainly didn't work the way it was supposed to. While it was cleaning via suction, as soon as I turned it on, you could hear this thing just stalling out the little electric motor in here. So, not very well made, and even on this medium pile carpet here, it kind of stopped. And I'll illustrate that here. Yeah, so. Well, it appears I have killed it. Let's talk about maneuverability. This doesn't have a full swivel neck. It only moves, I think 45 degrees would be generous. It's more like 25, 30 degrees, which means you can kind of steer it, but as you can see, it barely moves the head. It's more to just relieve stress off your wrist, which makes this thing feel clunky as we're using it. Older Kenmores used to only rotate 90 degrees in one direction, so I guess it's an improvement there. And you can see that power cord right there, and that will eventually go bad, as it has with a lot of the older ones. The other thing is, gosh, this makes me hate canister vacuums. The way that this thing has to be lugged around and the weight distribution is truly terrible. Even though it has lots of features packed into it, its weight distribution is just terrible. Well, what is my final thoughts on the Kenmore 600 series canister? This is not the worst vacuum I've used by far, but it is far from the best, and it is really a stain in a canister vacuum in terms of maneuverability. Most canister vacuums are lightweight, easy to maneuver. This is none of those things. So while this is going to get your cleaning job done, you might disdain having to pull this out of your closet every time you want to use it. The parts availability is good, so that is something I like, which means it is repairable. However, at the sub $300 price range that these sell for, probably not going to be worth repairing when something does go wrong. I have a long list of vacuum cleaners I recommend. There are other vacuum cleaners in the $500 to $800 range that I would recommend over this. I would almost recommend buying a used vacuum over this machine. However, if you have this on sale, I'll put a link in the description to the pricing on Amazon, but if you get a deal on this and you don't mind the extra bit of lugging around and hassle this is definitely better than anything that Walmart or Target has to offer. So I'm going to leave it there. Thanks for watching, folks. Give us a thumbs up. That helps us out a whole lot. If you could share this somewhere, that would be wonderful. That's a way of supporting our channel. And if you really like what we're doing, check out our Patreon, where I have an exclusive video of this machine in pieces. Thanks for watching, folks. Have yourself a wonderful day.